Who?
Hello, and welcome to the To Watch Who podcast. I'm Mark.
I'm Sarah.
And I'm a Doctor Who fan.
And I am new to watching Who.
Yeah, watching for the very first time.
Very first time.
And today we are coming to you live from Professor Zaroff's lab.
Yeah.
It's been drained out. It smells a bit of fish. It's a bit damp, but it's all right. It's all right. It's been salvaged.
Yes, sure,
Yeah?
Mark. Yeah, sure.
Any comment
I've nothing to add.
on your surroundings?
It's wet.
Yeah, so we're set up in the lab, and for today's episode.
I can't wait to see how long this keeps up because, yeah, go on, carry on. We're in the lab.
Interesting. We've got a special guest today. I've set up the time-space visualizer in the corner.
Of course.
If all is well and everything is set up and working. Peter, are you there?
I am. I'm
Hello.
coming through fine. I'm just, at the moment, I'm just looking at Professor Zaroff's pet octopus.
He's been fed. It's all right.
Encouraging it. Thanks, Peter.
I saved him from the sea in the flood. So yeah, welcome back, Peter. Uncommon Pilgrim on Twitter. So you were with us on our Gunfighters episode.
Yes, first Gunfighters, now Underwater Menace. Two of the highlights there. It will become apparent that I have high opinions of both.
It's good that somebody does.
Not the same. We both do. We enjoyed this.
Yeah, but you didn't like the Gunfighters.
Oh, no, I did not like the Gunfighters. But this, loved.
Yeah. So, Peter, you are on a marathon watch at the moment.
Yes, I can't remember where I was. I think I was mid second Doctor when I joined you for the Gunfighters. Yeah. I'm currently sort of 1/5 of the way through the third Doctor. End up having a bit of a break because the Blu-ray release of the following series is imminent or in the next month or so. Yes, I want to wallow in the high definitionness.
Yes, yeah, and all the extra special features and the amazing Blu-rays, which I am not collecting.
I'm shocked.
I know. Well, I didn't start, so it's too late now. It's too late now, unless I want to use all my savings on getting, like, the last.
Yeah, you go into Entertainment Exchange and they are literally, like, £200.
Yeah,
really?
They're about £200 each because they're limited edition.
Oh, I see.
And they go up on pre-sale, and everyone just gets them straight away.
Why have they done such small runs?
You get like the panic buyers as well. Like, not panic buyers. What do you call them?
Like
people who buy
scalpers,
fleeces, scalpers. That's it.
Yeah,
And whack them on eBay.
Yeah, and they go on eBay for so much. Yeah, but then people that have started, you're gonna have to like pre-order them all now.
I wish I'd been more selective. I mean, with series that I like more than others.
Oh, well, I'm holding out. I'm holding out for the mega box set of all of them at once. When they're done, I reckon 60th anniversary.
Well, who knows how the Underwater Menace will be presented in a sort of special Blu-ray edition, because its presentation is a bit of a bone of contention amongst fans on the DVD.
So shall we? Well, let's get into the Underwater Menace. Great segue there into today's story. So Underwater Menace. Well, so only episode 3 survived for a very long time. I had that on VHS.
Tell us your story.
Well, it was in the Ice Warriors box set. They did a sort of They did a couple of missing episodes on its own VHS. I got that for Christmas. I definitely got that at Christmas. 98 maybe. I remember watching The Underwater Menace on Christmas morning.
Oh, just that odd episode of it.
Yeah, just that episode 3 as well out of all of them. So I know episode 3 really well, but then episode 2 turned up at the same time as Galaxy 4, but then didn't get a release for ages and ages and ages. And then it got a DVD release a few years later.
They were going to animate the 2 missing episodes, and that just for various reasons didn't happen, I believe. So we were left with basically a very, very primitive slideshow of still images that stayed on screen for about 3 minutes at a time.
Imagine like the telesnaps, but they don't change very much at all. You've got big chunks of audio with just like nothing happening on the screen. So that's the official BBC version.
Right. We did not do that,
Which we didn't do in the end, because it is so bad. But it's not that loved a story by fans, I would say, just to begin with.
Yeah. I think maybe marginally improved since the episode 2. Very marginally.
Maybe, yeah. If you go on just the existing episode 3, yeah, I didn't really find it very interesting at all.
I think episode 3s are always bad ones to survive on the Todd, because sort of episode 1, episode 2 is the sort of setup, episode 4 is the payoff, and episode 3 of a 4-parter is just sort of pottering along. And then you get the fish dance in the middle.
Oh. Is that in episode 3?
Yeah.
See, now aren't we glad that there was episode 3 for the fish dance? We have very different... I love the fish dance. Let's talk about it from the beginning, though.
I quite like the fish dance.
Let's go to the beginning. So we started with which version of the...
Okay, so we did a fan reconstruction that you recommended, Peter, to us.
Yes, which I find the easiest to watch.
So it's got a lot more movement on it.
I laughed a lot.
So we had to get used to the style. Well, Sarah had to get used to the style of that version.
It was like when it was them going into a cave, but obviously it's not the back of them, so they just slide backwards.
So it's sort of photoshopped images that move around a lot more than you would get on just your normal telesnaps.
Yeah, and I love the dramatic first appearance of the fish person as well. Sort of poking its head up from behind a rock. I love it.
It's so cheesy. But, like, you can tell there's so much just dead as well, like dead silence in it. It's nice to see some sort of movement, even if I laughed through most of it.
So once we got past that, we got into the story a bit. This is Jamie's first proper story on board the TARDIS. So in the Highlanders, we were quite shocked that he's not really in the Highlanders that much.
He does nothing.
No, that surprised me too when I rewatched it last time. I think it's Anneke. I think it's I'm getting Anneke and Polly. I'm like amalgamating both. Polly's like, you know what? Let's bring along Jamie.
Well, it's Polly that says it, and she doesn't really know him that well. So he's on board the TARDIS, and
I've already said this, but that sums up that character to a T, i.e., Polly / arsehole. Anyway, carry on.
Right. So they're explaining to Jamie about the TARDIS. He takes it very well. He's not that bothered. We
put together a list of things that Jamie isn't put off by. Just generally, he's
just watching this story.
So the TARDIS, like, he's pretty like, oh, what's this? Oh, okay. Like, he's not that fazed by it.
They've done things a very different way than what they did with Katarina, where Katarina needed every single thing explaining. Jamie, they've gone down the other route of it being a bit silly how much he doesn't need explained, but it does make an easier watch.
Well, yeah, they had to. Yeah, they had to do.
Compass, you've put. What was the compass?
Well, I think someone had a compass and he just seemed to know.
He's cool with that.
He was fine.
Torches, not a problem. Straight up.
Yeah.
Give it, like, not like, where is this light source or anything. Like, torch, he's cool with it. Wetsuits.
Yeah. And
stick him in a wetsuit. He's like, yep, fine. Gold gravy.
Like the 60s mining gear and stuff.
Yeah.
And everything. He's not bothered about what's going on.
Has he made much of an impression on you, Sarah?
I guess. Sort of. So I said to Mark about, maybe it was the 3rd episode I said it, I was like, I reckon that there is a great side story here of Jamie and Polly, like, getting it on. And there's a line. What did they say to us at the end?
Well, we're skipping right to the end. So at the end, when Jamie is sort of rescuing Polly out of the underground.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, just as they're climbing out, and Polly has a moment where she's like, oh, I can't do it, I can't get out. And it's the telesnaps, so you can't really see what's going on.
No use, I won't, Jamie.
Come on.
No, I can't, Jamie, I can't.
Polly! Come on. I'll help you.
And you just hear her screaming, and then suddenly there's, like, silence.
Oh, no, he goes like, you can do it. She's like, no, you can do it. And then it is just the silence.
It's silent, and then they're out.
And the next telesnap is her looking absolutely... But it's this... I can't remember what... She says something like, I couldn't have done it without you. Something like that. I can't remember. And then there's silence. And then the next image is her looking really, like, guilty because Ben appears. And I'm like, I'm telling you now, like, in my head, they've just had a snog there. Like, they've had this, like, high tension. And then high tension got out, passionate moment. And then... all right, boyfriend Ben turns up and she's like, oh shit, because the next telesnap she looks guilty as anything.
I feel like you just turned into sort of Carry On Up Atlantis.
So he's probably just putting his hand out to help her, but you've imagined all this,
I've imagined a whole side
it's just
story.
like kissing her.
I imagine it was more than kissing, Mark, that I was imagining them. It was like really intense moment. And she sort of comes out looking really...
She's been climbing out of Atlantis.
I know, she looks really bedrenched, so like, it just didn't add to it. I was just like, they've had it on.
Well, I mean, there is a bit of a rivalry, if like just for screen time, I think, in that you've got Ben and Jamie basically doing the same thing. I mean, when you had Ian, Susan, Barbara, and Ian, Vicky, Barbara, at least Barbara and Vicky were two distinct characters. And I think at the moment, Ben and Jamie are doing the same thing. They have the same role in the story.
Because then why did they need to bring Jamie in even? Like, what was the decision?
I liked it. I prefer him to Polly.
I think the explanation that I've read before is that the Doctor's a bit more with it, from like in a 60s point of view, and he's more sort of modern and relatable, and he's got a Beatles haircut, and he's got like two sort of hip young things from the 60s, and then there's nothing that really makes it alien or otherworldly or things unexplaining. So I think they've basically given him like not a child character, but Jamie, who's a little bit he's a little bit more out of his depth in situations, because otherwise I think Ben and Polly are a bit too capable. Yeah. And I think the three of them, potentially, I think the three of them are a little bit smug, because they walk into like the Highlanders and they're like, oh yeah, Scotland, we know all about the 1600s.
You didn't like that moment where, because she finds that necklace thing in the cave that says the Mexico Olympics or something, and she says, oh, I know where we are.
Yeah.
And that was the line that you picked up.
I was like,
oh.
Shut up. Like any other character would have been like, look what I found, Doctor, or maybe this helps, or something. Do you know what I mean? And she's like, I know.
Well, she has a little pal in this story, the seashell girl who wanders around with her.
Now, I liked her.
Yeah, we liked her.
We liked her. And again, just comparing Polly in the... Thanks, Mark. Just comparing Polly in the Highlanders to this. Polly in Highlanders because we also watched the special features.
So we watched the making of Underwater Menace on the DVD.
Yeah, I watched that today too.
She talks about how she doesn't have, it's really nice to be with another girl. And literally the episode before, she was with a girl.
Kirsty.
And she was a bitch with her. She was horrible with her.
Yeah,
and really
just was,
full of herself, and like she just knows everything.
She falls down a pit and she's just nasty to her for falling down a pit and all that sort of thing.
I don't know whether someone's given her a slap on the wrist or something and said, stop being a bitch on screen or something, because this person she's absolutely fine with.
Well, she's a little bit wimpy. I mean, it said in the special features that she seemed to object to the fact that she's so scared of things, but I mean, I think she has good reason to be scared in this story. I mean,
they're turning her into a fish. Yeah. So of course you're going to be.
That's it, and it's
alarmed.
It's just so weird. I said to her, it's almost like she wants to be a female version of the Doctor. That's what she wants her character to be. She wants to be like the female, and she has such self-importance to herself that she believes she kind of is as the only female.
I love how the delivery of it is it's the way Anneke does it. So it's, you're not turning me into a fish. It's not you're not turning me into a fish. It's the fact it isn't the fact that it's a fish that you're getting turned into. It's the fact that it's her. It's like, I'm not going to get turned into a fish. You can turn them into a fish.
That is her to a T. And her character just comes across as just a bit of a bitch. Just really full of herself.
I mean, she is supposed to be a posh... I mean, Ben keeps calling her Duchess.
Yeah, so she's supposed to... Yeah, a little bit like that, yeah. Well, so when they're on the beach at the beginning, they all sort of go off... the Doctor goes off on his own, suddenly. Polly's off on her own. Ben probably knows Jamie the most because they've spent most of the Highlanders together, so he's like, let's go. Yeah, but they all sort of go off on their separate ways a bit.
Mm. I think it's interesting, going back to the very beginning in the TARDIS, they have a little internal monologue of where they want to be.
Please let it be Chelsea 1966.
I hope it's a Daleks, I don't think. Prehistoric monsters. What have I come upon?
A really strange moment. Is that just like to
It's just to show off.
Just to...
It's just to show off to Jamie.
I don't know if they're speaking out loud or whether it's like some sort of...
I think it's a voiceover. Yeah,
Because they do that sometimes.
Yeah, occasionally it can happen.
So it wouldn't be... Like, Ben's had dialogues to himself in a room, like, oh, well, how do I get out of here? And that's it out loud. So it wouldn't surprise me if Polly was like... really vocal, as if she knows everything, like she just totally understands space.
Well, so she gets captured in this cave, and they all take this lift down to Atlantis. So this was the first time I've really sort of followed episode 1. I've only ever watched episode 3, so it was interesting to actually see how it's set up and how they get there. So then they go through and they have that sea buffet. We like seeing the buffet. We love a buffet.
We love a bit of food.
We love a buffet. Out of all the buffets, a sea buffet would be the worst.
Why?
I don't know, like plankton and stuff, or like, what is it, white bait? I've had that before. No, I ordered that once, not knowing what it was, and all these like fish heads were there, and I was like, oh.
I mean, it just looks like he's getting his fingers right in there. Like, I mean...
They're just... They're not, like, bothered about anything. It's really interesting you said that they are just sort of like, as if they're so, like,
well, also,
full of it.
Well, the thing is, it's very clear then, into episode 1, the Doctor knows who Zaroff is. Already.
Yeah.
He sort of knows it all. That annoyed me.
It's like a classic
He's
Doctor.
Like, I know who he is, I know where we are, I know what he's planning, and you find it all out pretty quickly.
He doesn't know what he's planning.
Well, like, then they have that chat, don't they?
Yeah, and he's like, yeah, got it.
Yeah, but he knows... How does he know who he is?
You could make an argument that it sort of speeds up the narrative a bit.
They've done this with the old Doctor, where they were just like,
but you've got
he knows.
Plenty of characters to go off investigating for a bit.
It's a little bit like... the War Machines, where he just rocks up and he's like, yep, Professor Brett, Post Office Tower.
Yeah, straight in. Yeah, straight in. He knows who everyone is. And, speaking of Professor Brett, I was trying to think, what mad scientists have we had before? Like, obviously, Zaroff is the craziest, but all I could think of was Professor Brett, who just seems like...
Which is the one from London?
Yeah, Professor Brett in the War Machines. We haven't had any other mad scientists so far.
I suppose you mostly associate like mad scientists with like modern day stories and near future, and mostly it's been very far future with the first Doctor or the past. And I mean with the 10th planet as well, that because it was in a sort of a base in the South Pole or whatever it is, it doesn't really lend itself to that. But yeah, whether or not we end up with more mad scientists soon, I won't spoil that. But
I know it's not really clear what year it is.
Don't they mention? Isn't the Mexican symbol medallion or whatever it is, that's supposed to be for the Mexico Olympics?
Yes, that's the next year.
Which I guess suggests that it's in the next sort of, I don't know, in the near future.
I don't know, because when you're watching it though, because like watching episode 3 all this time, I just didn't really think. It seemed it could just be on another planet. Which it sort of is in Atlantis, and it's not in a real place.
Well, it's not very Atlantis-y, is it? Because you think of Atlantis and you think sort of ancient Greece and a little bit like tridents and all that sort of thing. Well, but there's a sort of modern element too, in that you've had Zaroff come down and introduce presumably wetsuits and...
All they've done to make it like Atlantis is to stick shells and fish on stuff.
And I mean, the guns are modern guns and... Presumably, like Zaroff just brought a suitcase full of like modern things down with him, and
so what I don't get is when did so it's set in the future, but like a minimum a year ahead. But so it's either been that all this technology and Atlantis has always been there because it didn't just like appear. Yeah, so they've obviously built to that point, or it's so much further in the future that is a relic that's just been found in a cave, and this is what the future could be. This level of technology.
Well, I wonder how long Zaroff's been down there, because
exactly.
I can't remember what the situation. Does he's presumed dead, and then he's actually in Atlantis?
I thought that he was this well-known scientist in the known world, and he disappeared and he'd been living in Atlantis all this time. But then it makes sense now, because now I've watched the beginning of the story. He explains, I've come into Atlantis and brought this technology in. I just thought, watching the later episodes, that was just the design. We've got 60s mining, wetsuits, fish things, and hats and shells and stuff. I just thought that was the strange design. And that hat that the priest guy wears, it's like cheese strings, we said. The cheese string hat.
I like the costumes in this.
I don't. They've just gone overboard on the shells and things. I think.
Yeah, but it's in Atlantis.
Like, they don't all have to wear seaweed and shells and.
But also they got
the whole time. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
There's an interesting juxtaposition between like the shells and the Atlanteans are all wearing the shells and the cheese strings, and the scientists are wearing like just your white lab coats, and you've got your wetsuits there as well for the guards. Yeah. So it's like all the baddies are like modern dressed. You've even got juxtaposition between the types of music as well, because you've got the sort of the chanting for the temple, and then you've got the opposite of modern, the very, very, very modern music when the fish people are doing the little ballet.
Oh, that's awful music. I hate that music.
I just made me laugh.
It just goes on too long.
The sequence.
That whole sequence just goes on.
I loved it.
You could cut that in half completely. You need 30 seconds of that at the most.
I love, like, because we were talking about, like, if they filmed, like, through an aquarium, aquarium, empty plot with like people on
strings, yeah.
Wires, yeah. But then you get little bits in in like tanks. You get tanks where they're like, are you not men? And they're like, no, we're female ballet dancer.
I loved it. But like,
it's that whole anecdote from the special features of the director of the Highlanders was approached to do this one, but he had a mate who was working on Thunderball, I think, which James Bond film that's mostly set underwater, a very large chunk of it set underwater, and he was like, hey, I know you're working on this underwater James Bond film, can I do it with this budget? And he was like, no.
Well, they did.
Well, yeah, but
I found it just really twee, but like not in a. Normally, that sort of thing really annoys me. Like when I think of bumblebees,
Web
Planet. So anything like that. But I think it's because they went to the extra effort with the flying. I think so. It does make it work. Whereas, like, if it had just been walking in the bottom of the water, like, boom, 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 I'd have been like, this is shit. But it, like, they try to
fly very well. They're like this, like half sideways sort of.
And some of them can just sit there fine. Like just sit at the bottom.
It's the underwaterness that lets it down. I think it's the costumes. I think the very fact that you went, is it filmed through a fish tank, or is it actually underwater, or what? I mean.
I initially did think it was underwater. I did genuinely. There was like a split moment where I was like, have they done this? And I was like, they wouldn't be able to breathe. You'd just see air bubbles. And then I was trying to work out, how did they do it? Like, and I quite liked that. But that initial second, I was like...
I mean, the reason that sequence isn't shorter is probably because they spent half of the story's budget on the costumes and the wires and everything.
But the costumes, I think, they're great.
Okay, so the fish people, like the proper fish people, are good. Like, let's call them fish people A, class A. But then you've got sort of the people with a leotard and a, what are they called?
Oh, goggles.
Goggles.
Yeah.
So did they run out of money? Surely they should, if they all look like the fish people, that would be great.
I dug out an explanation of this, actually. Where is it? I'm just... I dug out the Black Archive edition for the Underwater Menace, which is a sort of textbook about the making of. And apparently there's like a sort of production memo. Documentation suggests a story reason for this, which is never revealed on screen. And apparently there's a note from the director that says, fish people developed from pre-flood equals full masks. Operated on fish people equals gills and waists, no ears or hair. So there's that differentiation, but it's never actually differentiated.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. That does make sense.
I did understand it more as like, when I watched it, I thought some of the proper fish people were very fish people-y, and the other ones were maybe like early fish people, like, because I said to you at one point when we watched it, like, oh, they're not there yet, or something like that, like early fish person.
If Polly got turned into a fish, they were just going to put a scuba mask on her, weren't they? And like maybe
that's what it would have been.
I don't know, carve some gills in.
It's quite violent the way they sort of hold her down and try and inject her.
Really violent. I said to you, like, even it got cut, didn't it?
Yeah.
Speaking of first encounters with this story, mine was with the Lost in Time DVD, which had lots of sort of orphaned episodes, and you had the episode 3, which is the only one that existed at the time. But you also had the Australian censor clips, which were like the smugglers, the violent bits that they cut out.
Yeah.
And basically that consisted of, for the Underwater Menace, the end of episode 1, beginning of episode 2 cliffhanger. And it is no surprise really that they cut it out, because
it's pretty violent.
I mean,
here's my other thing I've noticed with Polly. She plays it like she's in a Shakespeare. Like she sort of, even when she talks about it now, it's as if she's some great Shakespearean actress that, like, you know, you're in Doctor Who, love, as a companion for a bit, like, get over it. But that scene, the way she's sort of, the reason I feel it's like so like dramatic, it's her. She's playing it like, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying play it shit, but
underplay it.
Don't underplay it.
I
but
suppose
like,
you've got to go for it if you get given a script like that.
But Vicky and Dodo wouldn't be like she was. I don't think.
No, Vicky would get out herself.
You never know how you're going to react until you're threatened with fish conversion.
Keep away!
Bring her here. Don't be difficult, girl. It's quite painless. Lights?
No! No!
We're ready now.
No! Ow! No!
One tiny jab, and you'll know no more about it.
I don't think they'd scream that much. I don't think they'd be that, like, I think they'd be more like kicking and stuff, but I don't think they'd make it as like deeply.
Well, they've even grabbed a hold of her and they've changed her into a whole surgical.
Yeah, she's acting.
Yeah.
She's acting like she's going to be raped. Like, it's as dramatic as, like, what if we see scenes of rape on TV nowadays? It's as dramatic in her acting as that. At the end of it, it's a kid's show and they're going to turn you into a fish, love. Like, it's not some Shakespeare. And it really, I don't know, like, I just don't think Vicky or...
I mean, there's been like loads of theses written about how in the Alien films, that's a metaphor for rape and everything like that. And he's just been violated by somebody's about to get all scalpel on her.
Oh yeah, completely. It's just the way. It's just the context of it within the way she plays it.
The other violent bit in this is when is it Damon when he gets stabbed, or you think he?
Yeah, but that one didn't bother me as much. Maybe it's just because it wasn't Polly being annoying. But
it's weird as well that they choose to stab him with a trident when he hasn't got a top on. Like, the obvious thing to do, like, you watch like a Robin Hood film and you've got like a tunic especially so that you can hide the arrow, and whereas it's just like full on chest exposed.
You see it goes straight in.
It looks like it goes straight through him.
And we thought he
was dead, yeah. We were like, he's dead. And then he like stumbles out.
Yeah.
Tell Zaroff.
But then you've got other bits where the guards get shot. I think it's Zaroff that shoots them, and it's just obvious, and that's just like a sound effect.
Yeah.
Like, I think you see the gun, don't you? You see the gun, and you just hear it off screen. It's a really strange sort of mixture of like violence and then cheese hats. It's just.
But I wasn't bored once throughout this whole story.
Well, no, I mean, let's go back to getting through the story a little bit. So Ben and Jamie go off to the mines, and they meet their friends Jacko and Sean.
Have you got that written down? Because I wouldn't remember that, and I've seen it about a dozen times.
Jacko, because you said he had a nice jacket.
Yeah. Which one's the most Irish character ever to have Irished?
It's like they've gone, let's represent the whole of the United Kingdom somehow. Let's get like Scotland in there and Ireland and some British.
Yeah, and that's when we saw the sort of 60s. He's got the hard hat on and sort of mining equipment of the modern time. And Jamie's doing his mining in his full Highlander outfit. There's definitely early Jamie and later Jamie. And early Jamie is the
Early Jamie looks like he's just come out
everything.
of Braveheart.
Yeah.
Like he's just...
proper...
He has, hasn't he? Well,
he has, yeah. But going mining in that is not...
Not pleasant.
Not really practical.
No.
And then Jamie falls off a cliff for a bit, which was completely pointless.
On film.
Such a random scene.
Because it just happens and then they rescue him and that's it.
It bonded
just happens.
them.
It's very quick.
It bonded them.
Yeah, so I didn't really see the point of that.
It's a very weird one, I think.
Well, it's bizarre that... I think it's bizarre having... What are they called? Sean and Jacko? The fact that they're two separate characters rather than one.
Well, yeah, but then Ben can go off with one and Jamie can go off with one.
Yeah, I guess so. They can partner up, yeah.
They're all very separate, actually.
Which
Yeah.
we're used to.
Yeah, but you think because there's so many of them, they're, you know... So, yeah, it's Ara is the girl who helped Polly.
One of our favourite, cameo
I
moments.
literally just read that I'd put Ara, girl who helped Polly, in massive felt tip pen.
I've got written down Ramo, Hart, Lowland, Priest / Cyril, and Damon, Doctor.
Yeah.
Cyril.
Okay, let's talk about Cyril, because he's immediately recognisable. Cyril
Once
from
you
the
saw
Toymaker
that, you couldn't not see
he's
Cyril.
The priest. Yeah.
I think he's in episode 1, isn't he?
He is
hear
a bit
it.
in episode 1, yeah.
Yeah, and you hear him. It's the voice.
Well, he plays it the same. He's got that when Cyril's like sniping at Dodo and Stephen. He does it exactly the same way in this.
It's the same voice.
And don't be praised.
Yeah, I'd like to see him in something else to see if he's exactly, or that's his Doctor Who acting maybe.
He's very big, isn't he?
He is.
Yes, you said that.
He should be in Panto. He'd be in your Panto.
He'd be my panto.
A very unblue panto.
Very unblue panto. I don't think Cyril could do that. It's funny though, isn't it? We can't remember the name of his character in this, but we just called him Cyril the whole time. And we just kept looking at, every time I saw it, oh my God, it's so Cyril. It's so Cyril.
That's so Cyril.
That's so Cyril. I mean, he's another one. He's another one. He's quite scantily clad, isn't he? Like, I mean, put like a robe on us a bit, Cyril. Like, I don't know.
Do you know what? I feel like "that's so Cyril" could just become a phrase for forever. Like, there'll be moments where characters do something, and we could just be like, "That's so Cyril."
Yeah.
Whenever the series gets a bit camp.
Yeah, when it gets really camp.
It's a Cyril moment.
That's so Cyril.
Just you wait until the 80s.
It's all Cyril. He's not in Doctor Who again, though, is he? From my knowledge, I think we would remember, wouldn't we?
Not unless he really goes really deep into character.
That's not so Cyril.
A miracle! A great and powerful miracle! Amdo has eaten up her victims!
Do you think, they saw that character and were like, we know the guy? Like, what made them think, let's bring back the guy that played that little annoying boy in the Toymaker? Let's bring him in to be this.
Yeah.
As a priest.
I bet he's in, as a policeman in Z-Cars or, a criminal or something like that. I feel like he's a Z-Cars, 60s actor that does... I bet he's done a really gritty 60s drama.
Oh, yeah.
I think there's been a few instances so far of characters playing different parts in different stories and just cropping back up. The part of the roster of 60s actors who were just floating around, going from series to series.
Then we get probably the greatest line of the whole story. Nothing in the world can stop me now. And that moment we were like, he's going to be up for an Oscar.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
He's absolutely crazy.
But even before that, when he's talking to the Doctor about his plans and stuff, he's very... We just haven't had anyone like him before.
No, he's great.
He just goes for it. I love it. I think it's a great performance. It's he's obviously seen the script and he's not sending it up either. He's just really immersed in the part.
Nothing in the world can stop me now!
But he's an example of someone that does it brilliantly in that he does it very seriously, but he acknowledges to the fact of what the genre is and what the age of the audience is and stuff. He could have been really horrible, nasty, evil in this, and he's just that right level. He's scary enough that you're like, oh, you're the baddie, you're a bit crazy, but he's not
you believe that he's mad, and you believe that he can shoot people.
But he's
and he'll
not
do
so
whatever
dark.
He wants, but he's not.
He's that rare villain where his motivation is just madness. Like, I think he says it's the scientist's dream of supreme power, but like,
Yeah.
he doesn't actually. I sounded a bit like Arnie there. he doesn't want to like avenge anybody or.
No,
yeah. He just wants to blow everything up. Like
he wants to be the person that did that.
Story there. Yeah.
It's a very like, you know, some people have different goals. Like, so that's his.
And he actually, I think I mentioned to Mark actually the other day that he was in a Bond film a couple of years later, but not like the main baddie. He was just like he was just the side character, and he's ideal Bond villain material.
He's what you think of as a Bond villain, yeah.
Yeah, completely.
Pop him in there with Roger Moore, like.
But maybe that's why he plays it so well. I could see him as this whole kind of story feels very Bond-esque, to be honest.
Oh, right, that's interesting.
There's that evil side to it. There's a threat of like the world ending.
If you did a film remake, like the Peter Cushing film remake of this, Doctor Who and Atlantis, that would work, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I can imagine that.
In Technicolor.
Since they seem to be animating a lot more stories now, I'd love for them to do an animation, but one where they just go to town, where they don't pretend to make it look like a 1960s production, where they just have like crazy CGI-esque fish people in.
Yeah, it's a shame they haven't animated this because it would.
Well, it exists. They don't need to animate it.
No, the two. The
other two. Sorry. Yeah. Yes, I thought you meant like the sea people. I was like, they exist.
Well, they'd have to animate the whole thing properly. Yeah, they'd have to do the whole story as a film. Then we've got the market scene as well, haven't we? They can't move around, and there's nothing. There's this fountain in the middle, and that music is just going on. It would be so if that music wasn't just going on and on and on. We couldn't hear what they were saying. Like, you can't hear because of the music.
No, you couldn't. You couldn't hear. Like, a
lot of extras too. Like, I mean, or maybe it just seems like it because. Like,
it's just crammed in. Yeah. But they can't run round.
You cannot hear what they're saying at all.
No, you can't. When Polly's talking to the doctor.
It seems like they've really tried to make this, with 10 extras, look like a whole civilization.
So, actually, the kids, they're also in the
beginning with the fish masks.
With the fish masks. And I said to Mark, I was like, can you imagine if you're a child and you're going to be in Doctor Who? Okay, you're going to put this fish face on and just walk in a line. Like, it's me, the most disappointing thing. And the Doctor doesn't really appear. So you won't really see the Doctor, but you're going to be in it.
It's William Hartnell when they rock up as well.
Yeah.
And then they've got Patrick Troughton dressed in in the market.
Dressed as an old lady.
Is that what you took that disguise to be? Because I never quite know. Because I think Ben says, are you dressed up as a sailor today? Or something like that. And
I don't know what it is. I just thought it was
I took it as an old lady.
Yeah, I took it as because of the Highlanders as well.
Yeah.
That's his thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, dressing up is his thing. He just loves...
And he has
that black Mac in as well.
I really like the Polly and Ara, their costumes in this scene. I love it. I love the shells and the seaweed skirt. I did. I thought, to be fair, we've had a lot worse costumes.
Oh, we've had worse, yeah.
So, compared to some, I thought, actually, a bit different. And they could have just had shell boobs. Like, she could have just been wearing a shell bra. But they didn't. They at least, fully, made a dress out of it.
No complaints on the wetsuit front either. I mean...
Yes. Ben and Jamie as the wetsuit guards.
Yeah.
As the guards, yeah.
Do you know what, I may just be completely overthinking things, but I think Ben, Jamie, and Polly are the first sort of. They're really sexy. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? They're not playing children and they're not playing teachers. They're actually it's okay to fancy them.
They're current 60s.
Oh yeah, completely. They sort of say that, don't they? As well, I'm sure you've told me that you can tell this is the point where they went to Doctor Who. We want it to grow up. Almost.
Yeah. You've even got the blonde screaming girl who is the archetype Doctor Who companion. It's finally now that you've got Polly is essentially, you mention a Doctor Who companion, you're going to play a Doctor Who companion, you think of blonde, screaming, short skirt.
That's who it is, yeah, that's where they've got to at this point, yeah.
So episode 3, you're in the market. You've got all the kids running around. Well, about 2 kids running around.
That's enough.
Then there's a sort of hoo-ha with a trident.
Stabbing the carpet.
The carpet's
and they miss Polly, unfortunately.
Oh, no, yeah.
And then the whole fish ballet sequence happens in the middle of all this. Like, because Jacko and... I'm just looking at my...
Sean. I think it is Sean, isn't it? I wrote Sean down. Have I just made up that Sean?
He's Sean now.
He's Sean.
They go to start a revolution. Like, they go to see the fish.
Yes.
And they're like...
It's such a weird scene. They sort of bully them, and then they're like, no, this is really what you need to be doing. Like, it's such a weird scene.
And they're throwing all those rocks. They're proper throwing rocks at them as well. You can hear them bouncing off the set. They're like proper hard. Like
that's one of those scenes where, like, imagine that, like, you'd never tuned into Doctor Who, and then you just, like, have this Irish guy, like...
shouting at fish people. I thought it was really weird that they sent these 2 side characters that we've not really met before to do it. Like, I'm surprised one of the...
Because then after that, they don't really have much part of the story after that.
I don't know why they didn't send, for example, Ben with them, or someone, so one of our main people is with them at that moment when that's happening. It's just really odd, I think, that, like, these 2 people...
I suspect the reason why it's these 2 side characters is it's all sort of the time constraints in filming these episodes is the companions have to basically miss rehearsals to go at this pre-filming, and then they film the whole studio stuff on one night.
Yeah,
probably so that the regulars can basically stay in the studio. They've just got these side characters.
But saying that, when Jamie's been rescued, that's Ben going to help him, and I think it's Sean. Like either Sean or Jacko, one of them is missing in that whole sequence, and then suddenly they're there. Then suddenly they turn up at the end.
It was Jacko that
wasn't there for the film. I think Sean suddenly was supposed to be with them. Like in studio, he was with them, and then on film he's not, and then
right at the end he's
Didn't he save Jamie. He's like, whatever.
Yeah, even that in itself was weird because he was with Jamie. Yeah. Jamie falls, and then Ben's in a separate thing, completely saving him, and it's just right at the end, just walks in and puts his hand out to pull him up.
Well, the other guy's really just checking out the caves. He's checking ahead. He's seeing what the tunnels are like. So the fish people rebel, and it's to stop the food supply, so that all the fish food is going to go off because they can't be. They don't have fridges in Atlantis.
No. But
you think Zaroff would have made some?
But I mean, this feels very like we're recording just before Christmas. And I'm thinking Brexit. I'm thinking of the fact that all the lorries are now stuck on the motorways, and they've said that
we're not going to get off fish buffets.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Just before Christmas.
Underwater Menace is a reality.
Zaroff for Prime Minister, please.
It's like well ahead of its time.
I don't really have that much seafood anyway.
You'd be sad if that's all you ate. That's all they have.
If that's all I suppose. If that's all I had.
It's not like, we'll just grab a chicken instead. Like, they're underwater. That is their only source of food.
They can grow, like, plants and stuff underwater.
Yeah, but they're not getting given, are they? Because the fish people aren't doing their work.
What are they mining for?
I can't remember.
They're digging down to the earth so that it'll steam, and then that'll make the world explode. Because with that ridiculous... Do you remember?
That explanation with the vase.
Yeah. And it's just like the most ridiculous exploding vase scene. I was like, nothing explodes like that.
Because there's some bit about Zaroff's giving them a sugar-coated pill of a fresh food supply. And so this is what's basically tempting them to drill into their city. And
I don't know, I lost track there when he said sugar-coated pill. I was just thinking of sweets and didn't listen to what he was saying. I just see sugar.
They believe they're getting extra food of some sort.
Yeah.
And so that's why they're digging. But actually, because they're going down to the core, all the water will go in there and the steam will make the world explode, like the vase. Because it's hot in the core of the earth.
But we don't have an but we don't have an explanation as to why he wants to do this.
Who?
But he wants to raise Atlantis, so that would raise Atlantis up.
Oh, they believe
think that would raise Atlantis up.
No. I think they just believe that he's got a plan to raise Atlantis up.
Right.
And the side of this is you dig and you'll get more food. He's just like, hey, look at this. If you do this, you'll dig. But they believe that he has a plan to lift Atlantis.
The Atlantis people presumably don't know about the lift.
Yeah, exactly. Why don't they all just go up onto the beach? And get a chicken?
So true. That's so true.
Yeah, they've got their own lift.
Well, maybe he's told them there's been some sort of nuclear disaster up there and they can't.
Yeah, because they would believe that, I would think, if they...
Yeah.
Like, Cyril would believe that.
They believe, like, Amdo is there and he's there to save them and everything, and I think the religion is probably blinding them slightly. They've got the face of Amdo. They believe that Amdo's speaking to them when it's actually... Is it Ben?
Ben, speaking through it.
Yeah.
Presumably, the religion has been around longer than Zaroff has been down there. Because, I mean, he's in his 50s. Like, I mean, the longest he's been... I mean, he might have been a world-famous scientist in his 20s and realistically been down there for 30 years, but I mean...
I feel it's like he's been down there like 5-10 years max.
Oh, really? That long? I would have said a couple of weeks.
What? You think he's managed to like create fish people in a couple of weeks and an entire laboratory down there?
He must have been really charismatic to win them over.
I feel like they've sort of built this because all those scientists learn from him.
But I would have thought he would have just gone with it and been doing that pretty quick.
I think it takes a while to get down to the Earth's centre mark.
Yeah,
I feel like he's been there because he's very established there as well. I feel like he's been there for years, and it's not like I've just come and this is all like sorted for me.
I reckon 10 or 15 years. It's quite amazing, really. That I think the Underwater Menace I read somewhere is one of the few stories that doesn't have any prequels or sequels. There's no sort of spin-off CD or.
It can begin here.
Maybe it's Zaroff's missing years. What are you up to?
Oh yeah, I'm surprised the fish people haven't come back, actually. Yeah.
I think it's the rare thing of like a creature that isn't a baddie. I mean, I guess you've had the Chumblies, but I mean the closest. I mean, historicals. Obviously, you don't have a monster, but Zaroff has monstrous intentions. The fish people, they're nice, aren't they? They're just
fish people.
Yeah, they're just people that are fish.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, there's not an actual... Yeah, Zaroff is the baddie in this. Yeah.
But Atlantis isn't historical in that sense. I don't feel of it as a... Like, when I think of Atlantis, I think more of, like, mythical and fantasy than I think historical. It just so happens to be something that people talk about, the lost city of Atlantis, you know. But it's not like a...
I remember in like late 90s in Blockbuster, there was always like a cartoon, like an animated film Atlantis, which I never actually watched.
The Disney one?
Is it actually? I don't think it's actually Disney, is it? It's one of those sort of, it's like Anastasia where it's like sort of copycat studio.
No, it's Disney. It's actual Disney.
Mind blown.
Oh, I've got it. It's not very good. It doesn't look like Disney, but it is. It is Disney. It's terrible. It's awful.
Maybe it was the sort of like post Golden Age lull.
Oh yeah,
yeah. There is that Golden Age lull.
It was like 2002 or 3.
Yeah, like post Tarzan.
Yeah.
Treasure Planet.
Oh, Treasure Planet's really good. I think it was just after Treasure Planet.
The Underwater Menace is just fun, isn't it?
Yeah. No, actually, it was fun to watch. Yeah, it's not like, slog or anything.
We really enjoyed it.
But production wise, it is very sort of. It looks like the costumes and everything look like they were possibly made in the 30s.
No, yeah, I'm just going. If you're just talking production wise, it's the Web Planet. That's what I mean by that.
It actually looks like. Have you ever seen those sort of very early silent films, like A Trip to the Moon, George Méliès, where they're literally like cardboard sets and people dressed in great big fish heads. It is a little bit like George Méliès, like that's probably like 1902 or something that those films were made.
I don't think it's that, but I think it's all right. I didn't think that bad of it. I actually thought the costumes were quite good, and I thought I really liked that distinction between the old and the new. You know, you've got old Atlantis, and it was really distinctive. Who was that? Who were the people of that time, that era? And then you've got the new, which was the people working with the scientists and all that, you know, who've learnt all these new skills and have sort of progressed away sort of from the old. I like that you could see the difference.
I wish we had like an elderly sort of curmudgeonly Atlantean who's like, these young'uns coming down here with their the wetsuits and pistols. I used to like how Atlantis used to be.
Does that mean it's like it was from a visual perspective, you knew who was who? If they'd have looked too futuristic, I like that they looked a little bit oldie and their costumes seemed that sort of like vintage old, because I think if they'd have looked too futuristic, then it would have just looked worse. It's almost like it's the losity sort of hierarchy, specialness, you know what I mean, of it. And
you're wearing a cape. You're one of the important ones.
Just like, I don't know, it gives it the royalty. That's the word I'm looking for. The royalty. It sort of has a royalness to it, like the ceremony of it and the way that they have these over the top. It's very sort of regal.
If any villain was going to have a cape, it's got to be Zaroff, and he swishes it around a bit.
Yeah. I just thought it was really good. Mark hated it, I can tell.
Well, no, I don't hate it. No, I don't hate it. I'm just thinking, I understand the look of it now and the reasoning behind it where I didn't before.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those stories that you wouldn't show somebody who isn't a fan because they'd rip the piss out of it.
Oh, yeah.
Even modern Doctor Who's where you're like, oh, God, this is a little bit...
But I found... I can think of other episodes of Doctor Who that I found more embarrassing than this one. There's just some way you're like, they're just not... Whereas actually, I think, considering it's a time that we kind of know, but we don't know, you can sort of do anything. I actually thought they were very... They could have been a lot worse.
But I think like Patrick Troughton's great. Like I think episode 2, he has like some great blowing up the vase, and
this is the first time that Sarah's seen Patrick Troughton on film, because we've only had the animation and
stills. I thought he was great. I really enjoyed it. I thought he was really good. I've not really anything bad.
There's little bits of, in inverted commas, that business that he does that I think you wouldn't get even if you're watching the reconstruction, and I think that's why it's so fun when an episode comes back that's been missing, and you're sort of like, I wondered what he was doing there.
There's going to be so many moments, yeah.
The bit where he taps his head, and he goes like, when he's trying to explain how Zaroff's just mad, and he's like, tap, tap, nothing. There's just little bits where his facial expressions are just like hilarious. His little face lights up when he sees the hat, and I think,
it makes you sad that we're missing so many of those moments in other stories that are missing.
I'm really glad that we got Nothing in the World Can Stop Me Now on film.
Yeah, because we went back to the telesnaps in episode 4, so back to the normal...
Back to the grind.
Yeah. So I found it a little bit more difficult to follow. Everything starts flooding. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah.
Everything starts flooding, and you don't really see many of the other characters. Like, you don't see Cyril again. I wouldn't be able to tell you what happened to all of the Atlanteans.
No.
Like, where did they go? It's just mentioned off...
They're sort of getting them out.
Are they getting them out? Or do they drown? Or what? You don't really... I don't understand what happens to everyone.
They're saying that they're trying to get everyone out. That's what they're saying.
I mean, I only rewatched episode 1 ahead of this, so I think the last time that I saw the whole story was probably about 4 or 5 months ago, maybe.
Zaroff stays down and obviously gets drowned in his lab. I don't know, just like Ara get out and stuff. I wouldn't be able to say what happens to them.
They say that like they've kept all the doors open for people to get out. They've kept some doors open for people to escape.
And is that where Jacko and Sean go?
I don't know, but like,
because then you just don't really hear mention them, and then it's Ben and the Doctor with Zaroff a lot of it. Polly and Jamie climbing out, and then suddenly they go.
They've obviously got people out because...
It's a bit of a rushed ending.
But they've obviously got people out because they say about how we will restart again, but not...
Yeah, like
but
the
maybe
leader guy who
as a
we've
different...
not mentioned. I can't remember his name.
But him.
Yeah.
So they've obviously got people out, we just don't see it happen because we're just in our story.
It's all a little bit Troy. It's all a little bit just complete carnage in episode 4. I don't know how many people actually succumb to the waters of Atlantis, but I mean, in terms of like the action, and presumably a lot of the budget went on the whole flooding of Atlantis.
So much.
Because you can see, because on the telesnaps it just says like water, flooding and stuff. What was that? How much water did they have? Did they have water in the studio? Was it like a model that was
you see it like coming through the eyes and stuff?
Yeah, but
is
that the big model in the studio that they put water through? Would they do that?
Maybe, but I don't. It looks really cool.
Maybe it's a bit like, isn't there? I think it's in the Aztecs. Ian is in like a tunnel that's flooding, and you just see it. So you see a little bit of pre-filming of somebody's feet with water trickling on it.
Yeah, it might be like that, like a hand or something with water. Yeah, I can't imagine them like flooding the studio or doing a lot on.
They might have done like little. They might have built a smaller version of the set.
Yeah, I reckon there's like a model, and it's just
they've like pumped water through the model.
Yeah, I think so. Then you see that very small clip of Zaroff drowning in his lab.
Ducking his head.
That's obviously on film then, on the thing.
Yeah, it must be in a tank. Well, does the water fill up, or does he just duck? I think he just...
Yeah, he probably just goes
I don't
down
think they actually drowned him.
I'm imagining they filled up this whole thing, but yeah, no, you're right.
From the footage, yeah, I think it's just him ducking his head. It's quite dramatic. I mean, the doctor's they're just going to leave him, aren't they? And then the doctor said, "Oh, wait a minute, Ben, I can't just leave him like that."
There we go.
Yeah.
That's the doctor's moral moment for you.
Yeah.
First Doctor, at the very start at least, I mean, went back when he was going to clobber a caveman over the head with a stone, like the First Doctor, especially early First Doctor, before he had like Ian and Barbara, would have definitely just let Zaroff just take the plunge.
Oh, the First Doctor would be out there, wouldn't he? Yeah.
Somehow.
And Barbara would have looked like pained behind her as he drowned and then just walked off,
Yeah.
I think. And then while that's happening, supposedly Jamie and Polly are off together on the beach.
On the beach.
In your new theory.
Yeah. That's why she brought him onto the TARDIS. That's why she grabbed his hand like, "Come with me." She's already got Jamie in mind.
They're off pretty quickly, aren't they? But then, so they haven't really spent that much time. Well, Jamie's not spent that much time with the Doctor.
Jacko and Sean have a moment where they
Jacko and Sean see them off. Yeah.
See them off.
Yeah.
He says something like, "If that's one of those phone boxes."
Yeah.
And then it goes.
Oh, are they on the?
They're on the beach. They're on the beach. Yeah, they're on the beach at the end.
Do you notice at the end Polly's wearing the Doctor's hat?
Yes, Polly puts the hat on in the TARDIS.
she?
Did you notice that?
No,
that hat is still around.
I am the Doctor. I'm wearing the hat.
I swear that's what she thinks. Yeah. I swear that's like.
Well, we know Anneke Wills wasn't fond of this story.
No. But then we're not fond of Anneke Wills, so it's all good. You were so right. Like, when I think of the previous episode, they're just all so smug. Like, they know everything. And actually, it's nice to... Like, what I really liked about Jamie in this... We actually haven't talked about Jamie that much other than... We talked about him in the previous one, but not in this. Actually, I think he cements himself really well. He's, like, assertive but not over-assertive. And... he doesn't seem to come across as like a know-it-all in the way that like the others do. They all like sort of tease him almost, don't they? Like, "Oh, you don't know these things. Oh, you don't know." It's like, bloody hell, guys, you've only been going for like four stories.
Yeah, they've hardly been in it, really.
Like, and you think you know everything.
Yeah, like 4 stories.
4 stories. Polly's an expert, and so actually, I quite liked him being there because it did break it up a bit.
Just thinking of smug Polly and Anneke and your hatred for Anneke. I did notice, I googled a couple of Underwater Menace reviews before this, and I think it was for the 50th anniversary, the Radio Times website reviewed every single Doctor Who story from the start, and during all the episodes when Polly's in Doctor Who, they have an anecdote at the end of each review, which is basically they've had Anneke over the phone and just go on, like, I don't know, search like Power of the Daleks Radio Times review, and it just has like this week's anecdote.
Oh no.
That sums it up.
I haven't looked on the other ones, but on the Underwater Menace, she's basically saying how she was horrible to the director.
She's not completely bad, but I understand what you're getting from her. I've had a few experiences with her, but she's not that bad.
Mark, she gave you a dirty look because you already had a signature in your book. You've gone and made the effort to be there, and she makes a dirty look about it. Like, at least be like, "Oh, it's already signed." no. And like that, it's just this really weird, like, pompous laugh. Oh, no, I've just no time for it.
So I got the audiobook of her book as well because I liked it so much. So then I saw her again to get it signed, right? I heard in a queue at a convention people talking about her book and stuff. And I think she fell out with whoever published it or something. Anyway,
Sounds like
something happened.
Right.
I sort of had an idea of this. But anyway, so I got the audiobook of it signed. So I was like... so she sort of gave it a look like, oh, not this thing again. Like, she's fed up because she doesn't like her book anymore. And she just started going off on how she's got tons of these boxes of these books at her house now. And she's had all these problems with the publisher and stuff. And I was like, okay, well... She just started complaining about it quite a lot. And I said, because I actually got book 1 and 2, and then actually I sent book 1 and 2. I bought copies as well and sent them to my mum. So I said, oh, I bought quite a few copies of this book. And she was like, oh, well, there's still tons of them, and I've ordered all these problems. And she just went off on one about, like, how much she didn't really like this book and this guy. And I was like,
who does that?
Anyway, so I've got the CD signed.
Do you know who she was married to, too, Sarah?
Yes, the toy maker.
I mean, I was watching the Michael Keaton Batman, Batman Returns, with it being a Christmas film and it being close to Christmas when we're recording this. And the fact that the Celestial Toymaker's in there, like a big Hollywood blockbuster as Alfred, he's like quite a well-regarded actor, and he was a toy maker, and he was... It's like 6 degrees of separation, isn't it?
To Anneke Wills, yeah.
To Anneke Wills.
6 degrees of Anneke, yeah. But she is nice, though, as well. I don't want this to be like a hating on Anneke Wills.
Well, as long as Polly's around, I don't see...
But I can only talk about my experiences with her, and that's what happened those times. So...
I just think, like, why would you be so rude to people, like, to fans?
She wasn't rude. She was just a bit like.
But no, it is. It's like one-centered world, i.e., me. Not the fact that, like, you've bought several of her books. Most people would be like, "Oh, what did you think?" Or, "Oh, thank you." It's just one world, Anneke world, you know.
I mean, if I was to meet. Sorry. Just Sarah just turned and like took a big swig of some waters and like right, I've had quite enough of that. But yeah, Anneke, I think if I was to meet Anneke, which I don't think I ever will, because I don't like the ideas of meeting actors and all that sort of thing. But I think if I was to, I'd ask her to say, "You're not turning me into a fish."
Well, good luck with that, because I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think she'd say anything. I think she'd say what she wants to say, and that would be that.
Well, she's still in the TARDIS. She might redeem herself. Like,
yeah, I mean, I live in hope for Mark's sake, but yeah, she just needs to get out of her own arse, really. But
right, anyway, let's leave it there. This can go on, and we don't want to get any like Anneke hate.
Because I think there's a bit of a trend at the moment in these Patrick Troughton stories of each story leads into the other. It's back to what it was in the early sort of First Doctor stories of each story has a cliffhanger, and the companions can't even take a breath before they're sort of catapulted into the next adventure.
So it's something with the TARDIS, isn't it?
So they say that he can't fly the TARDIS or something, and he's like, "Yes, I can." Pushes a few buttons, and then they're like, "Whoa, we're like, you know."
Yeah. After Jamie saying, like, "The one place I feel really safe is in this TARDIS."
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
Ultimate, like.
He's only been in there 30 seconds, and so.
So, and then the next story is called The Moon Base.
So I'm thinking future, like future.
The moon?
Yeah. I feel like, I don't know, they'll encounter people or things on the moon. That's what I feel.
People or things on the moon.
So, should we play the game?
Okay, yeah. Okay, let's...
Do you want to explain what's happening?
Right, okay, we're going straight to the game. There we go, that's the Underwater Menace. Okay, so Sarah has some Battles in Time cards. She is going to say what she sees on the card. Okay? So we have to guess what monster she is describing.
Oh, okay.
So it could be any monster, classic or new.
So I'll tell you now, I don't go higher than the Fifth Doctor.
Shall we take it in turns to guess then?
No, I just thought
Or do we just shout out?
I think you just shout out.
Okay, we'll just shout out.
It's going to shout this out to me,
Right.
and then is this me?
We are both guessing.
Yeah, I'm describing.
Sarah's describing, and we are both guessing.
This one, really famous, Metalhead.
Cyberman.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay, fine.
That's like nice and easy.
That was easy.
I'm slightly terrified of Sarah saying spoilers here.
It's fine. By the time she won't remember by the time we get around to it. It's fine.
Oh yeah, that card.
Yeah.
Okay, this one, it looks like a Cyberman, but like it's proper. It's got more of a face, and then like they've put a grey wig on it, like an old lady wig. It looks like it's got a metal face.
Is it Third Doctor?
Yes.
What's it called? It's not an Axon, is it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Axon Girl, specifically.
Yes.
Is it gold? Right.
Yeah. Okay.
I was going by the hair on that one.
This one looks like, now I can only see a face. It looks like it's like panto drag with giant red lips. So like think really big face, giant painted on pink lips with then like black like moustache going down, sort of to look oriental.
Is it Fourth Doctor?
Fourth Doctor.
I'm really bad at this.
Mr. Sin.
Yeah. There he is.
I've literally got a figure of him.
I've never heard him being described as panto drag before.
Last one here. So it kind of looks like a Cyberman, but covered in diamante.
Oh, Chiron.
No, so it's like it's got like a metal body, and then like the diamantes are like in diamonds and like shoulder pads, and then it's got like a metal face.
Do you mean crayons?
Yeah,
It's not that.
But they're not crayons.
No, it's got like
Is it Fifth Doctor?
it's Fifth Doctor, and then it's got like a
What's it
diamond
called?
on
I know
its
the story.
head.
I know the story.
I'm kind
I
of
don't know what.
think like Iron Man.
Yeah,
Android.
it's that robot.
Android.
From the
It's not just an
Visitation.
android.
Pteroleptal android. Looks like a Lady Gaga Cyberman.
There we go.
There we go. What a fun
we are.
game.
Panto drag man with a mustache.
Track man. Well, there we go. Well, that rounds off the episode for today, I think.
Yeah.
So we'll look forward to the moon base next time. So thanks, Peter, for.
I want to join you on the moon, but I better get back to.
Oh yes. So.
Mark's already forgot.
Yes. Right. Okay. Let me just. Okay. Yeah. So. I think the water is seeping back in here. We better get out.
Take Zaroff's secret lift.
Yes, we'll take the lift back up to the beach. We'll take the octopus with us. We'll set it free. We'll take some
You've captured
fish
it.
buffet with us as well. And so I bet.
Run! You need to get a fridge. Run for a fridge.
Yes. Yeah, we'll get the fridge.
All
We'll
right.
get it sorted out. We better go before this lab is flooded. So.
I mean, the great goddess Amdor's going to come for us if not.
Yeah. So, Peter, thanks for joining us on the Underwater Menace.
Yeah, thanks, Peter.
And we'll have to switch off the time space visualizer and get that in the lift as well if it'll fit.
Yeah, sure.
And where can people find you on Twitter? If you want them to.
At Uncommon Pilgrim, and let's gather. And I want more Underwater Menace support.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Come and share the love.
That's so Cyril.
Anyway, that is so Cyril.
That's so Cyril.
Right, okay, well, we better leave it there. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
To watch who?